In this graph, we'll consider the effect of a negative production externality. Here we have the supply and demand curve, which equate to the private marginal cost and private marginal benefit curves. If in the production of a good there's a negative externality, in other words, a cost of producing the good that isn't borne by the producer themselves, this, by the way, is the classic case of externality which you might have encountered in a Principles of Economics class. For example, smoke coming from a factory that produces some good. It pays the costs of energy, materials, labor, and so forth to produce the good. That is what is accounted for in this supply curve, or the private marginal cost of a good. But it doesn't pay the cost of the damage the smoke does to the health of the people in the community. If we account for that cost, then we would add to this private marginal cost the social cost as well, and we would come up with a new cost curve that's called the social marginal cost. It includes both private and external costs. Note that in the private market, when we only account for the private costs and benefits, we would end up at an equilibrium point here at A. If we accounted for the social cost of production along with the private cost of production and equated that with the private marginal benefit, a different equilibrium would arise, the equilibrium C. This is the socially efficient equilibrium. This is the equilibrium that equates the true costs of producing the good with the benefit of consuming the good. So note that the difference between this point Q1 and this point Q2 is that Q1 is the socially optimal amount of production of this particular good, but Q2 is how much the private market produces because it doesn't take into account the external costs. The difference between Q1 and Q2 gives us this area here, which is the deadweight loss. The deadweight loss is how much society loses from the fact that too much of this good is being produced and consumed relative to what's efficient. These exchanges are happening. The difference between Q1 and Q2 is being produced, even though the benefit of consumption is outweighed by the cost of production. That's why this difference in the benefit down below and the cost above gives us the deadweight loss. The cost is higher than the benefit, but happens anyway, and that's a loss to society.